Hello and welcome to another Google Docs video. In this one I'm going to make a Google form, and any of these green icons with a little box and a line, that represents a Google form, and I have a few of them. Here's one. Here's one. To start, you want to go to Create and select Form. It's that easy. And you'll get a new page that looks like this. It will open in your browser, and you might want to ask, why would creating a form be useful? Well, you can gather information from tutoring clients using forms and then store them remotely in Google Docs. The answers go into a spreadsheet that you can access. The people that fill in your form can take screenshots or screen captures of their questions and save them as picture files. So there are uses for this. I have been using forms to collect information from tutors for quite a few months now, and making a form is pretty easy. You start with an untitled form. Here's where you can add the form title. I'll just put in title. And then you have a default help box if you want to add information to help your respondents complete the form. And you start with two default questions. And in this case, the question type can be selected here. In this case, it's a short text box. I'm going to keep the sample question 1 because this is a sample form. I'm going to put help 1 to distinguish this from other help texts, and I'll leave it at text. And I'm also going to click on make this a required question, and you'll see when I click on done, there's a red asterisk next to that. That means it's required, and that will show up on the form itself. You also have a question 2 by default. I'm going to put in help 2 again to distinguish that from the first one. And notice that it also bolded the title of the question automatically. I didn't have to pick that. Here I'm going to change the question type. I notice now I've got a longer answer as a reply for this question. And I'm going to click on done. Now I only have 2 questions. It would seem like I can't add any more, except you can go up here to add item and click on another question. This is sample question 3. And I'm just going to click on a couple of these choices. Here I've got 2 options with radio buttons and then their own answer. Now you can see that you do get hints as far as what sorts of replies your respondent will be able to make. And there I have my 3 choices. Now I don't have much as far as what they're supposed to reply to, so I'm going to change this to choice 1 and choice 2, just so that I have something next to the radio buttons. Excuse me. And now you can see that I've got text next to that. And again, to add another question, go to add item. And now I'm going to do some checkbox question, just as again, more samples. This is the 4th. And choice 1. Choice 2. There is no spell check, so you do have to be careful about the spelling for questions. And I have an other answer as well. So that looks a lot like the multiple choice, but it's just it looks different. This question type allows somebody to choose from a list. Again, there is no type spell check, so you've got to be careful of how you spell and grammar as well. Let me put a space in there. If you don't like an option, you can delete them with these X's. So there's my sample question 5, and now I've got a drop-down box that gives me some answer choices. The scale question is just that. Once I put in my sample title, you can go from 1 to 3 up to 1 to 10 as far as your scale goes, and then you can put in options for the labels. In this case, I'm just going to put in lowest and highest so that you have an idea of where this comes, where you can see these labels, where these particular pieces of information show up for the question type. Here at the very beginning and at the end. And then the other is a grid, which gives you a mini table. And I'm going to keep the rest of this. I think we're up to 7. No, only to 6. So we have 6 question types and some other options that we can modify here. So I'm going to click on Done. So there we've got 2 rows. And again, you can put in text just like you can for these other things. I didn't for this one. And then 5 columns is the default. On the other side of the form, the pencil is editing a question. So with that, I can go in and change these row labels. Let's just say row 1 and row 2. And click on Done. And you can see now the rows are labeled. This one lets you copy a question. If you like the layout of a question and you're going to edit only some of it, you can duplicate a question. And then, of course, you've got a delete trash can icon here to delete that particular question entirely. So that's how you create questions. Now, as far as how to get responses, you can email the form directly to those that you want to respond. You can embed it in a web page, which I've done. You can see the responses in a number of ways after you have collected some. You can see it as the spreadsheet directly. Anytime a respondent fills out a form, it goes directly to the spreadsheet. You can see the summary of responses. It gives you some graphing images of the questions. This allows access to your form. And you do have an explanation here for the first choice. Allow users to edit responses. That's automatically turned off. So users can't make changes to what they answer. This choice limits those that respond to people within your domain if you have set up Google Apps within a domain. And otherwise, you can uncheck it and allow somebody else outside of your domain to access your form. And that's what I've done with the forms that I've created. I've used them with coaching tutors, and they're not in my domain, so I need to uncheck that. And likely you would have to do that as well with forms that you use with tutoring clients. This choice lets you collect respondents' usernames within your domain. So if you're getting response from people outside of your domain, that's not going to be a very useful choice, but it is here. Again, you can then edit any of these. You can change the theme of the form here. That's the background. And you have many to choose from. I'm just going to pick one. And it lets you, in effect, preview the form before you actually accept it. And I'm going to apply that, and then you can change it as well. Now you don't see it here when you're editing the form. You will, though, when we go view the form, which I'm going to do next. And of course you saw it on that preview screen. Now here's the form in a version that somebody can edit, actually submit answers. I'm just going to put test answers in here, and I'm going to answer all of the questions so we can see what the spreadsheet looks like. And then once your respondent hits submit, it will tell them that their response has been recorded. It also gives them a couple choices. They can create their own form or submit another response. Probably you wouldn't want to get another response, but that's how your respondent actually answers the questions. If I go back to the Google Docs file list, here is my most recent form, and if I click on it from within Google Docs, what I see is the spreadsheet that I created. It's automatically time-stamped with the date and the submission time, and then all of the answers from my respondent is in that first row. Now these cannot be edited by the respondent. What I've done is I've changed colors for answers so that they stand out when I view a particular spreadsheet later on. So I have made minor changes. I haven't actually changed the answers of anybody. You wouldn't necessarily want to do that. But this is a way to create quizzes for students if you want to. If you have a bunch of students with the same subject, you could create a quiz that you can then send to them this way by emailing the form link. Again, you can create forms for information from parents about their children as far as what sorts of information you want to have in advance before you tutor. There are a lot of different ways that you can use Google Forms. So thank you for watching.